If he's in our kitchen, he's got a science experiment or something related to science for us. And today it's why our food in the freezer ends up getting freezer burn to it and how we can prevent that. Dan Kohler mixes up some science.
Listen, I'm sure we've all had this problem where you get home from a long day at work and you think you've got food in the freezer. You open it up and you pull something out and you think, oh no, I can't eat this. I can't serve this. Ugh. But if you've ever wondered what actually is happening to your freezer burned food, this is where I come in.
All right.
So smart, Dan.
I try. Yeah. So when we put foods in the freezer, everything on Earth is filled with water, even our bodies included. We're about 70% water. Now, when you put something in the freezer, that water wants to migrate to the coldest part. So it starts to slowly move to the top of your food where it can become ice crystals. Once it's an ice crystal, it begins to evaporate. Now, I know that sounds strange that ice is evaporating. We normally think of steam evaporation, but actually sublimation is when an element goes from solid to gas without ever becoming liquid. And this is happening in your freezer. If you've ever had ice cubes that are shrinking, that is sublimation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when it evaporates, it leaves those nasty dark spots we just saw on that meat. It leaves meat over here like this. It leaves your vegetables frozen and crusty. Ice cream gets kind of slick and slimy. It's really very unpleasant.
Yeah, so is the money I lose in the process. Yeah, it's unpleasant. So are they still okay to eat at some point? Or?
They actually, believe it or not, are totally okay to eat. What's happening is dehydration. I know that sounds strange, but freezer burned food is actually just dehydrated food. So it's going to smell a little different, it might taste a little different, and it's certainly going to have a different texture, but it's not unsafe to eat. It is not food that is rotting. And as for that strange taste, we've even had this with ice cubes, right? You've dropped an ice cube that's been in there for a while in your water, and you think, this doesn't taste right.
I gotta be honest, it almost makes it feel like it's burning your tongue in some weird way, like you have an after film on your tongue.
So remember, I said that water is evaporating right off the surface of these. Well, the evaporated water from bread, the evaporated water from ice cream, from steak, from broccoli, it's all mingling in your freezer. And then some of it collects back down on the food, refreezes, and goes in. So you have this conglomerate flavor profile from everything in your freezer.
Broccoli-flavored steak.
Ice cream. They're all connected.
Yes, everything's connected.
That is really,
how do we prevent?
Really
all right,
gross.
3 tips, guys. First one, number 1, you've got to remember to keep your foods completely wrapped, really well wrapped, and often that means not the way the manufacturer has wrapped.
All right.
Okay. Number 2, keep your freezer as cold as possible. Drop it all the way down to 0 degrees. Don't have any temperature fluctuations. And speaking of those temperature fluctuations, actually this is something that I know you talked about earlier. When you're cooking food, cool it all the way down before you put it in the freezer. If you've made stew, you put it in little containers and put it in there, and it's still warm, it's going to raise the ambient temperature and more ice crystals will form.
Okay, well, will you show us the right way to do it then, Dan the man?
So beginning with... Beginning with bread, a lot of us shop in bulk. We buy a couple of loaves at once. You want to throw one in the freezer. This is the wrong bag to freeze your bread in, believe it or not. It's not made for good storage. What I want you to do instead, bring your bread home, take the loaf in half, cover it in some freezing paper. This is called freezing paper, or you can get wax paper, and wrap it, honestly, just like you would wrap a present.
Okay.
Carbs are a present where I come from.
Pardon me? Carbs are a present. Yes, carbs are a present to all of us. And you put this in a Ziploc bag and put this in your freezer. Now, the reason I've separated it in half is so that you can only take out half a loaf at once, because this way it'll stay fresh. And you get all that air out, guys.
None of my family would go through so much sandwiches.
All right.
But you're going to save so much money that way. I mean,
you don't end up throwing
so
away
much
half a loaf that went moldy.
Okay.
Yep.
Number 2.
That's amazing.
Joke's never going to get old.
No, and we run
Okay,
to the ground.
meat. Now, you might think you bring this home, it's totally wrapped, it's in a tray. I can throw this right in the freezer.
Yeah, but look at it. It already looks wrong.
Ding, ding, ding. This has only been in the freezer a couple of days. Look at how much space is around here. And those ice crystals are evaporating, okay? So what I want you to do instead, when you bring meat home, maybe it's in a lovely package from the butcher like this.
Okay.
Take one of these pork chops.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it looks good.
You gonna cook for us next?
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm only cooking the
only
freezer
kind
burn
of
food for you.
Well, you're wrapping it in plastic.
First, we're going to put a layer of plastic because this completely reduces the surface area that's exposed to air, right?
So would you do the same with this? Would you just take this out of the package and do the same
Steak out,
thing?
wrap it individually. Then we're going to take a sheet of aluminum foil.
Oh, wow.
And do that.
Wrap it in aluminum foil, and then this individually wrapped pork chop goes in a Ziploc bag.